Bud Light, please.
Tonight's ladies' night, and there's a special on Bud Light.
Oh, really?
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Oh no, it's Ted from accounting.
Bud Light, because Bud Light is made for a man who wants to be a girl.
Love ya.
Looking right back at you, Pootie Pie. Okay, so.
Joe Biden's been very busy, among other things, destroying our country.
Come on, man.
And in a video message yesterday, he announced his plan to expand health coverage for illegal aliens. No legislation. No input from your representatives. No! We now have government by fiat. And this blithering idiot...
Go, you know the thing.
This blithering idiot...
Come on, man.
Goes around talking about democracy and freedom versus tyranny and autocracy. Well, he should know, because he's on the tyranny and autocracy side. Cut 8, go.
When President Obama and I created the DACA program, we knew
Which was illegal. Whether you support it or not, it just is illegal. You don't get to create the DACA program out of the executive branch. And this has been an issue. Let's start from the top. Go.
When President Obama and I created the DACA program, we knew it would transform lives. And it has, bringing stability and possibility to hundreds of thousands of young people known as dreamers, brought to America's children. This country is the only home they've ever known.
Did he say brought to America's children? Can he even read his cue cards, this idiot? Go ahead.
Co-workers. They study, they work hard, they start businesses. Many have served in our military.
Oh, yeah, unlike the white supremacists in America, in the white-dominated society, who are bigots and racists, unlike MAGA Republicans, of course. They haven't built anything. No. Illegal aliens have built everything. Everything. Don't you know that? They do jobs Americans won't do. Go ahead.
Essential workers in the front lines of the pandemic. They're American in every way except on paper. It's past time for Congress to give dreamers a pathway to citizenship.
It's amazing. Just amazing. The lack of willingness to enforce the law and the Constitution here. This is a guy who should be impeached and found guilty and removed. Go ahead.
Work toward that goal alongside dreamers, advocates, members of Congress. We need to give dreamers the opportunities and support they deserve. So today...
Look how the language is affected. You're here illegally, you're a dreamer. You're here illegally, maybe through several generations, you're a white supremacist. See how it works? Go ahead.
The administration is announcing our plan to expand health coverage for DACA recipients by allowing them to enroll in the plan through the Affordable Care Act or through Medicaid.
So through Medicaid, which is going broke, there's no statutory law that's been passed to allow this. He's expending funds without approval from Congress. And he just does it. He just does it. And everybody's okay with it because they like the ends. The ends justify the means. You know, like good commies.
You can do it.
Go ahead.
It should be a right, not a privilege. My administration has worked hard.
It should be a right, not a privilege. Healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. You understand that, folks? So as I've said 1,000 times, you folks who go to the Veterans Administration, you go in there and you tell them, I have a right to whatever medicine I need and want, period. Period, because the VA is run by the federal government, is it not? And you folks on Medicare, same thing. Medicare is run by the federal government. Healthcare is a right. So you go in and you say, I want this, I want that, it's a right, I want what I want. It's a right. And you doctors, you're no longer free to do what you want. If health care is right, then you're an indentured servant because you will do what must be done for the rights of the people. You nurses, too. You hospitals, too. It's a right. And you people working in labs trying to invent new drugs and develop new alternatives, technologies. You work and you work hard because it's a right. It's a right that people have these things. And you must do these jobs so people can have these things. You understand? It's a right. And it's a right for illegal aliens, too, apparently. Go ahead.
And today, more Americans have health insurance than ever. Today's announcement is about giving...
More Americans have health insurance than ever. No country is there more health insurance than North Korea and Cuba. Everybody has health insurance provided by the government. Everybody's equal. No private alternative. How's that working out? We don't care that everybody has health insurance. We care that people get quality medical care, quality medicines when they need them. That's what the United States produces. Who's Mike McCormick? Mike McCormick, years and years ago, was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, but not that Mike McCormick. Pretty good coach, too. Pretty good man. I don't know if he's even with us anymore. But the Mike McCormick I'm talking about, who will be ignored by the New York Slimes, the Washington Compost, because censorship is the name of their game. Mike McCormick, former Obama stenographer. Hello, former Obama stenographer. He's on Fox and Friends today, and he's talking about April 2014. Biden enriched Burisma and his own family. Go ahead.
In April 2014, I was in Air Force Two with Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan. At the time, no one knew that Hunter Biden was already on the board of Burisma Holdings, the natural gas conglomerate from Ukraine. Joe Biden is directing Jake Sullivan in the front of the plane what to say to the press. My job as a stenographer on the plane is to record what the vice president or a senior administration official says to the press. So I'm sitting back there with a tape recorder. Jake Sullivan comes back, and somebody asks him about fracking. His answer is, well, we're bringing a lot of American assistance over for fracking. Burisma was the direct beneficiary of that fracking. And that's what I recorded. And that's in a White House transcript. In the transcript, you don't know who Jake Sullivan is. It's a senior administration official. I'm the witness that says Jake Sullivan is the guy who said it, and he should be investigated because at the time, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, and Joe Biden is bringing American taxpayer money to enrich that company and himself and his family.
Got that? That's on the record. So over there at Mediaite, I notice you don't have it yet. Do they, Mr. Producer? Let's see here. No. How about Media Matters? They didn't pick up on it either. Is it in the front page of the New York Slimes or the Washington Compost? No. Censorship. Like Hunter Biden's laptop. Censorship. More. Cut 10. Go.
You know, Mike, my biggest question is, you said the FBI has been ignoring you. It's no secret right now that people don't have a lot of faith in the FBI. Would you tell them, and what did they say back to you?
I came across this story back in October. I published it in my Substack. My Substack is Midnight in the Laptop of Good and Evil. I didn't hear much about it. In February, I went to the FBI and filed one of their tips on their website. If you do that and you're lying to them, you go to jail. I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth, and I'm not going to jail. Joe Biden is a criminal. He was conducting malfeasance in office to enrich his family. Jake Sullivan is a conspirator in that, and there's more Obama officials involved in it, I believe.
So you are willing to go under oath to state that you are certain that this was a kickback scheme that Joe Biden was orchestrating, correct?
Correct. There's a grand jury right now in Wilmington, Delaware. They've been seated for 3 years with a special prosecutor named David Weiss. If David Weiss can't have me in front of his grand jury explaining what I know as a witness, that's a fraudulent grand jury. It's a fraudulent use of the American judicial system to cover for Barack Obama and Joe Biden's crimes in office.
Wow. So the FBI doesn't want to hear from Bobulinski, even though he spoke to them for 4 or 5 hours about the corruption of the Biden family, specifically the putative president of the United States. They don't want to hear from Mr. McCormick, Mike McCormick, the former official Obama stenographer, who's an eyewitness to what Biden was up to with respect to getting our tax dollars to Burisma in Ukraine in order to help them with fracking while his son was on the board. Now that's a serious connection. There are endless connections between the Biden family and these corrupt regimes, and how the Biden family is looking for ways to make millions and millions of dollars from them. Just this last night, I went through in excruciating detail endless connections about how Biden and the Democrats set up Trump in Manhattan, how Biden and the Democrats set up Trump with the documents case, and we only know the tip of the iceberg here, only the surface, because we're not in charge. We can't pull out the information. And now we have Obama's stenographer, the former official stenographer, pointing out that Joe Biden pushed money to Burisma to help them with fracking when his son sat on the board. And in there is the current National Security Council assistant to the president, Jake Sherman. Bobulinski, McCormick, two tremendous eyewitnesses, and no special counsel. No special counsel, because the Department of Justice is the Praetorian Guard for Joe Biden, just as the media are the Praetorian Guard for Joe Biden. Maggot Haberman, did you hear this, Maggot? Jeremy and his Peters. Did you and your Peters hear this, Jeremy? Philip Bump, are you going to write one of your columns about this, Philip? Everybody's waiting with bated breath. How about the rest of the miscreants, malcontents, and frauds in the media? No, I don't think they will. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I came across this story back in October. I published it in my Substack. My Substack is Midnight in the Laptop of Good and Evil. I didn't hear much about it. In February, I went to the FBI and filed one of their tips on their website. If you do that and you're lying to them, you go to jail. I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth, and I'm not going to jail. Joe Biden is a criminal. He was conducting malfeasance in office to enrich his family. Jake Sullivan is a conspirator in that, and there's more Obama officials involved in it, I believe.
So you are willing to go under oath to state that you are certain that this was a kickback scheme that Joe Biden was orchestrating, correct?
Correct. There's a grand jury right now in Wilmington, Delaware. They've been seated for 3 years with a special prosecutor named David Weiss. If David Weiss can't have me in front of his grand jury explaining what I know as a witness, that's a fraudulent grand jury. It's a fraudulent use of the American judicial system to cover for Barack Obama and Joe Biden's crimes in office.
You know, with everything you've said, do you think by you testifying, this would change this narrative? And I mean, frankly, a lot of us have already, we have thought this for a long time. We've always said it's not necessarily Hunter Biden, it's Joe Biden's ties to his business dealings. So do you think by you testifying that it would change this story?
So if I testify in front of a grand jury, the two things can happen. Because I have a little bit of experience in grand juries. I used to be a stenographer listening to grand juries. I used to do transcription for the Lewinsky grand juries. I go back that far with stenographers. Two things can happen. One, what I say is evidence. So my testimony would be evidence. But I can also point them to other witnesses they can call into, because a grand jury is an investigative tool. And if I went in there, I would tell them to have Barack Obama called in as a witness, because he's part of the conspiracy. He's an ex-president. He has to answer who was in charge of this, putting Joe Biden into this role. Did Barack Obama know about it? Because there's evidence I've seen and put in my Substack on April 16th, so 2 days before Hunter joins. Joe Biden is with Hunter in the West Wing. They have a meeting. And then later that day, in the evening, Joe Biden spends a day in the limousine, in the back of Barack Obama's limousine in Western Pennsylvania.
Mike, we reached out to the White House for a statement, but did not hear back. Something tells me we have not heard the end of your story. Keep us posted. Mike McCormick, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.